You are Locked On Warriors POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And tonight, the Warriors were incredibly lucky to escape with a win over the lowly New Orleans Pelicans. They've only won 20 games this season, and they pushed the Warriors basically to the end. Final score was 111-95, but this game was actually a lot closer than that might indicate. Steph made his return tonight at just the right time because the Warriors desperately needed his scoring, and he was basically the only player who could buy a bucket from beyond the arc, especially in the first three quarters of this game. But hey, it wasn't terrible from everybody aside from Steph. Kuminga really stepped up tonight, played a great game, especially on the glass. Excellent rebounding from Kuminga tonight. But the Warriors need more contributions from the role players during this playoff push if they want to avoid the play-in tournament. And speaking of role players, the Dubs clearly missed GP2 tonight as the defense was, hot garbage for the majority of this game. Yes, they held the Pels to 95 points, but really, if you watch this game, the defense was very questionable. And with only 9 games left in the season, every game from this point forward is essentially a must-win if you want to avoid that play-in tournament. We'll break it all down, but first I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please, if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed and making us your first listen following these Dubs games. And make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. And as I said, this game was really, honestly, super close throughout the whole time. The Pelicans led for almost the entire first half. The Warriors had a lead for exactly 10 seconds in that first half. And the Pelicans were just, it felt like every possession, they were either scoring in transition, like the Warriors would make buckets and the Pelicans would just get out and run. And the Warriors were not getting back on defense to stop the Pelicans from just walking into the lane and getting easy layups, getting shots at the foul line. It was terrible. The Warriors, meanwhile, were just chucking them up from three. They have such an infatuation with shooting these three-pointers sometimes when they are just not that great of a three-point shooting team. Yeah, Steph Curry is a phenomenal three-point shooter. Don't get me wrong. Steph's allowed to shoot any shot that he wants. Half-court heat from Steph, I don't care. Whatever shot Steph wants, he can have. The rest of the team, after you started 3 of 20, let me repeat, 3 of 20 from the three-point line, about the 8-minute mark in the second quarter, the Warriors had only made 3 of their first 20 attempts from downtown. That's good enough for 15%. They should have just stopped shooting threes if your name wasn't Steph Curry. And by the way, at that same point in time in the second quarter, they had made 8 of 9 from inside the three-point line. So why in the hell is this team just allergic to 2-point shots? It's like, it's like they're like a guy on the my 600-pound life show who can't stop eating donuts, even though he knows he's going to, probably have a heart attack and die sometime in the next year if he doesn't stop. The Warriors can't stop doing things that hurt themselves. It is so frustrating. This team has Jimmy Butler, who is a savant at getting to the free throw line. You have Jonathan Kuminga, who can just barrel into people and have them bounce off of his super big athletic body as he's getting into the lane. And he can also draw fouls, get to the line, get buckets inside. Quentin Post, 7+ feet, dude. You don't have to take all of your shots from distance. Like, my God, this was a frustrating game. I know they won tonight. Don't get me wrong. I'm so glad they won this game tonight because, believe it or not, I would be even more pissed off if they did not win this game tonight. I would be screaming and yelling even louder. It's just so frustrating to watch this team sometimes play to their weaknesses. Like, you have clear strengths. Play to them. It is not that difficult to do what you do well. That should be an easier thing to do than trying to do something you're not very good at. This team has shown us all season long that they are not a very good shooting team. Pods, 1 of 7 from distance. Jimmy Butler, why the hell are you taking 6 3-pointers, man? 1 of 6. Guy Santos, 0 for 3. Quentin Post did finish with about 33% from distance. He made a third of his shots. 3 of 9. Why are you taking 9 3-pointers if they're not going in? Thankfully, he started making them at the end of the game because he sure as hell wasn't making them in the first half. So tonight, overall, the Warriors shoot 13 of 55 three-pointers, 55 three-point shots for a team that makes 23% of them in the game is just ridiculous, absolutely bonkers. I have no idea why they continued to heave them up from beyond the arc. It was, abysmal to watch. Not fun basketball in the first half, especially, but hey, they got Steph back, and Steph was the steadying force, which, obviously is going to bring me to tonight's player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
And it's an obvious choice to pick Steph for tonight's player of the game. He had 23 points, plus 10, plus minus. He was awesome for the Warriors. But again, Steph also 5 of 16 from three-point land, missed 11 threes tonight. That's a lot of missed three-pointers. But we'll give Steph a pass for that. He was 7 for 21 from the field. This looked like earlier in the season when Steph needed to just take every single shot and become a volume scorer for the Warriors to win a game. And it's unfortunate that that's what needed to happen tonight, because you don't want to see Steph playing 34, 35 minutes a game right now. You want to see him resting up, especially in his first game back from that pelvic contusion. As I said, great to have him back in the lineup, but man, we do not want to run this guy ragged into the ground coming into the playoffs. He needs to be fresh. The health of this team is so paramount and so important. We've talked about this on a few different shows recently, but the Warriors got to stay healthy if they want a fighter's chance in the playoffs, if they want an opportunity to compete for a championship. You cannot have injuries to damn near anybody on this roster. If you even lose a small component of this team, or someone who seems like a small component, it's going to majorly throw off the vibes and majorly throw off what the Warriors do. They are so predicated on playing together with this connectivity. And when anybody on this team goes out that plays meaningful minutes, it really changes how this team is operating out there on the floor. And tonight, that was very, very, very obvious on the defensive end of the floor, but we'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. First, I want to talk about Jonathan Kuminga, because he was basically the only guy out there tonight that I trusted as much as I trusted Steph, or maybe not as much. That's a little, insane to say, but Jonathan Kuminga played a phenomenal offensive game tonight, phenomenal game on the glass. I really liked his decision-making. When the Warriors were sitting there chucking up threes in the second and third quarters, Kuminga just decided, I'm done with this ass. I'm getting to the lane. I'm getting the bucket inside. I'm getting some layups. I'm trying to get to the foul line. And he succeeded in all of those categories. Finished with 16 points, not his highest scoring night of his career, but it was the type of shots that he was taking, the efficiency that he was playing with, and the intensity that he was playing with. 7 rebounds as well. That was phenomenal to see. He was very, very, very concerted in his efforts to getting on the glass, especially in the first half. Gave the Warriors a big, big, big lift there. The Warriors end up out rebounding the Pels by 4. And if they didn't have Kuminga tonight, they would not have done that for sure. Kuminga also goes 5 of 9 from the field, and he did miss 2 3-pointers as well. So he probably shouldn't have taken those shots from distance. We know he's not that great of a 3-point shooter, but other than those 2 shots, and honestly, they weren't bad decisions in the moment. He's got to take them when they're open. He's just got to make them, but the Warriors so desperately need somebody else other than Jonathan Kuminga to step up in addition to Steph. And Jimmy had an okay night too. He was the second leading scorer for the Warriors with 18. But man, it's just so tough when nobody else on this team is making shots. The Warriors need other shooters to step up. Thankfully, in this game, they did late in the fourth quarter. Quentin Post, Buddy Hield stepped up, and that was a big deal for the Warriors. Quentin Post especially stepping up there in that fourth quarter. But frustrating win, if that's a thing. It's not the type of game you want to see the Warriors play heading into the playoffs. They really, really, really locked down on the defensive end in that fourth quarter, only gave up 13 points to the Pelicans. So that was a very good thing to see. But the rest of the night, not very good on the defensive end of the floor. And you're clearly missing GP too. We're going to talk about that next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Daylight savings snuck up on us again. And if you're feeling a little lost after that lost hour of sleep, the 5-Hour Energy team has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, that's me right now, man. I just started a second job this week, and I am running myself into the ground. But 5-Hour Energy has given me that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever I need it, and they can do the same thing for you. And as I said, March Madness, I'm not going to be missing these games. I'm staying up late watching all the tournament action, and 5-Hour Energy helps keep me up the next day. And with these longer days, I really love getting outside. If you know anything about Triple E, I absolutely live for getting outside, doing all the fun stuff on hikes, getting out into nature, snowboarding, all of these things. I need 5-Hour Energy. The Tropical Burst is my go-to for a quick boost. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They are everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. And today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here. FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. Man, I have been picking Arkansas for damn near every round, and I thought, oh man, I gave you guys on the Locked On Giants postcast what I thought was a lock, which was Arkansas money line last night, and man, did they S the bed. 16-3 run for Texas Tech at the end of that game just blows Arkansas out in the final couple minutes, and they somehow force overtime and beat Arkansas in overtime. Just broke my heart and all of the Razorback Nation. And so that's, I would have proclaimed myself as part of the Razorback Nation to clarify, but for March Madness, I was on that hype train. I got to find a new team to get behind. I'm thinking Florida, man. I'm thinking Florida. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and tonight, the Warriors escaped New Orleans, 111-95 win, but this game was a lot closer than that final score might indicate. They were neck and neck all game long. I mean, it was a 1-point game entering the fourth quarter. And the Warriors had a 1-point lead, which was the first time that they entered a quarter with a lead in this game, other than, the start of the game when it was tied. So it was just very, very frustrating watching this team let a 20-win Pelicans team, a team who very well could win the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, letting them just hang around for the entire duration of this one. Not what you want to see, but hey, they go to the Smoothie King Center and they get the win. That's the most important thing tonight. You got to win basically every single game from here on out because nobody else in the West is losing. I mean, everybody is doing really, really, really well right now. All the teams around them, the Clippers are 8-2 in their last 10. The Timberwolves are 7-3 in their last 10, and they won again tonight. So they beat the Phoenix Suns. You got to keep pace with these teams. With the win, the Warriors are now tied with the Clippers. But what's worth noting is the final game of the season, Warriors-Clippers at Chase Center, where the Warriors have been playing really, really, really well since acquiring Jimmy Butler. I really think that the playoff seeding, the who's going to be in the play-in tournament versus who's going to make the playoffs is going to come down to the final game of this season. And as I said earlier, they're really going to need some role players to step up aside from just Jonathan Kuminga. Like, yeah, you know what you're going to get from the Warriors' big three. Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Steph Curry. Those guys, you can count on them. You know what they're going to give you. It's the rest of the team that needs to start playing better. I mean, Quentin Post turned it on in the fourth quarter and really helped himself out tonight. But I mean, it's got to be more consistent. And one thing that's really inconsistent right now, it's the Warriors defense. We have seen them play not very great in this road trip, honestly, pretty much this entire road trip dating back to the Raptors game, which actually I believe was a home game for the Warriors right before, the home game, last home game before they went on this road trip. It went Toronto, Atlanta, Miami, and now New Orleans. The Warriors have played some pretty suspect defense in all of these games. Tonight, you do hold the Pelicans to 95 points. But if these had continued doing what they were doing the first three quarters in that fourth quarter, This game would have been, I mean, a real nail biter going right down to the final buzzer. But the Warriors put the clamps on in the fourth, hold the Pelicans to 13 points. That was great defense there at the end. But the rest of this game was a problem, man. The Warriors allowing plenty of interior passes that they should have absolutely stopped well before. And I mean, without GP2 there to disrupt things, it's a problem, man. It's a really big problem. And that's what you're going to be talking about after tonight's game.
This is what you'll be talking about.
And the Warriors really miss GP2 right now. Like, I mean, as I said, they got to find role players to step up. And GP2 has been so consistent for the Warriors since he's been back on the team this season. I mean, he's been so solid when he's healthy, but when he's hurt, and we know he gets hurt a lot, the Warriors struggle to replace him. He's their best on-ball defender that's not named Draymond Green. He's probably their most versatile on-ball defender at this point because Draymond can sometimes have a harder time with those quicker guys, might need some help occasionally, but GP2 is the most versatile defender the Warriors have, and he is so good at disrupting those passing lanes. And tonight you just saw entry pass after entry pass after entry pass into the lane that were just, I mean, the Warriors could not stop it, and they have been so good at causing deflections on defense all season long. And without GP2, this dramatically changes what they can do defensively. You saw Jimmy Butler get involved a little bit later on in this game. As I said, fourth quarter, especially second half in general, the Warriors did a better job defensively than they did in the first half. But it's something that they got to address. You cannot continue to have these errors because maybe you're going to get away with that against the Pelicans, who have only won 20 games this season and have lost 54. But you're not going to get away with that against teams like, the Lakers or the Nuggets or the Oklahoma City Thunder or the Houston Rockets. And maybe you're going to get away with it when you play the Grizzlies now that they fired their head coach. I have no idea why the hell you would do that with just weeks away from the playoffs. That's a crazy thing to do. And to be honest, I was kind of looking forward to the Warriors having another chance to send softy Taylor Jenkins home with another L in the playoffs. But I guess, him losing his job, it's a big enough L for him to hold. So the Warriors, I mean, you got to figure out a way to answer these problems defensively going down the stretch. You got the Spurs next. That's should be a win. That's basic. I mean, every game is a must win at this point. You get the Spurs, then you get the Memphis Grizzlies, and then you go to LA and play the Lakers. Then you finally go home and you play the Denver Nuggets and the Houston Rockets. So you got 3 games playing teams that are ahead of you in the standings. Then you play Phoenix, who's fighting for their lives for the final play-in spot, San Antonio again, and Portland again, and then finish the season at home versus the LA Clippers. This is going to be an absolute sprint to the finish for the Warriors. I've said a few times on the show, I thought that 48 wins would probably get you to the 6th seed. I'm like double, questioning myself on that now. I think I got to change that number to probably 50 games if you want to avoid the play-in tournament. The West is just that good right now. So the Warriors are going to need to keep winning games. They're going to need to figure out all of these different situations. And before we get out of here, we got to talk about one more thing. Tonight's turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
And the turning point in this game was the start of the fourth quarter. The Warriors finally started to make some shots. They finally started to get inside a little bit more, get to the free throw line a lot in that fourth quarter, which really helped them put this one away. But ultimately, the defense was the biggest difference in the fourth quarter for the Warriors. They only gave up 13 points to the Pelicans in that fourth quarter, really turned things around from how things were going earlier in the game. The Pelicans were really pushing the dubs, and without that defensive, clamp down job they did in that fourth quarter, it would have been a really stressful end to this game. You escaped from New Orleans. I thought it was escape from New York, but apparently for the Warriors tonight, it's escape from New Orleans. You just got to get out of there. And man, please, for the love of God, if the threes aren't going in, just get to the bucket and take some layups, make some layups, take some shots in the lane, step inside the three-point arc of a couple feet and make a mid-range jumper. They're not the worst shot in the world. If it's an open shot, take it. For the love of God, please don't die on the sword of living and dying by the three, because if this version of the Warriors lives and dies by the three, I'm telling you right now, this team is dying well before they get to the Western Conference Finals. So plenty of stuff from tonight's game to kind of give you some concern. But going forward, you got time to right the ship. You got the Spurs next. That's a great game, great team to be able to face and get right. No Wemby, no De'Aaron Fox. Just go out there and win the game. Just go out there, play your game, fix these issues, and just win the damn game. It's all the Warriors got to do. It's all the time that we got for you guys tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in. By the way, if you aren't checking out the Locked On Giants postcast, make sure you do that. It's on the Locked On Giants YouTube channel. I'll repeat that. The Locked On Giants postcast has moved from this channel to the Locked On Giants channel if you're watching on YouTube. But if you're getting the podcast version, it's the same place it's always been. It's the same place it's always been. And so if you're watching the YouTube version, which you really should be, make sure you're checking out the Locked On Giants postcast. Giants just had a dramatic win to open their season in Cincinnati. Wilmer Flores, the hero in that one with the ninth inning heroics, the ninth inning whammy over the left field wall, 3-run bomb to give the Giants a 3-run lead in the ninth. What more do you want, man, on opening day? So make sure you're checking that out and make sure you're sticking with us for the end of this Warriors season and all playoffs long with the Locked On Warriors postcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. We will see you next time. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Peace.